In 2011, Detroit hip-hop phenom Danny Brown released his breakout mixtape, the layered soundtrack to self-destruction known as XXX. 2011 was a fascinating year for the genre for a multitude of reasons, a list too long for this video surely. One of the era's biggest trends from my perspective was when a rapper would become insanely popular and then immediately release a song, mixtape or album with their less talented crewmates. I won't name names, but I'm sure you can think of various rap groups centered around one or two hugely talented artists, all while an obvious talent gap separates them from the group inherently, leading to that group's sudden demise. It's a tale as old as the genre, but it felt especially prevalent at the time, and it doesn't seem to have really come back since then. Sure, you've got actual rap groups with multiple rappers all existing at varying degrees of success. I think Brockhampton and Griselda are two great examples, and they both serve entirely different demographics. The group who I think absolutely owned 2021, however, is one that was announced a decade ago on that aforementioned Danny Brown album, and seemingly abandoned before it could truly materialize. XXX contains a song entitled Bruiser Brigade, which proudly proclaims Bruiser, that's my crew, Bruiser, but don't forget the brew. He would go on to shout out his ostensible brigade across various other songs and projects, but it always felt like a hypothetical crew that could exist if Brown felt like putting one together. The conceit, perhaps even the joke of the Bruiser Brigade, was always that it was a hip-hop group so incredible they literally couldn't even exist. They'd be so amazing that the world and the rap game would simply be better off if they didn't. So for a long time, that's what it always was. We never got that Bruiser Brigade album, did we? It's a question I've asked often over the years. In 2021, however, that decade-old promise finally came to pass, and there was not nearly as much fanfare as I feel it deserves. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to take you through the 6 fantastic releases the Bruiser Brigade dropped in 2021, in the form of a ranked list, of course. I just want to say that quickly that these albums are all short, great, widely available, and an amazing testament to the seemingly endless supply of unusual, one-of-a-kind talent emerging from Detroit's vibrant rap scene. Without further ado, coming up lowest on the list, but still very much worth your time, is Santa Barbara by Fat Ray. Of all the rappers on the Bruiser roster, Fat Ray is probably the best entry point. His work is definitely the most reminiscent of traditional hip-hop of all the artists on this list, which is really the only thing that I would consider a knock against him relative to the others. Don't get it twisted though, Fat Ray is a force to be reckoned with. I would put him in a similar arena as Conway the Machine or Benny the Butcher, based purely on this album alone, and that's some very high praise. It also features production almost entirely by Raffi, who is essentially to Bruiser Brigade what Derringer is to Griselda, and he definitely deserves a shout out as well, so I'm giving him that here. Otherwise, I might forget. Still, Santa Barbara is perhaps the most predictable album on the list, hence why I'm ranking it here. If you like jazzy loops and hard bars, start here, knowing that it gets a lot more unusual here on out. Next on the list is the most recently released album as of writing, and that's N.O.A.H by QUENTIN and DAGOD. I have a lot of similar things to say about this album as I did about Santa Barbara, but I think that the extra measure of grit and intensity in Quentin's voice slightly edges him above Fat Ray. That said, this one is almost also somewhat reminiscent of the Griselda sound. I hope that doesn't sound like I'm being dismissive, because this album is still very good, but as we continue down the list, we're going to get into much more bizarre and singular material. To sum up though, N.O.A.H is a very good hip-hop tape, and a logical next album to try if you enjoyed Santa Barbara. J.U.S has been an affiliate of Danny Brown for quite a while, having actually mixed XXX over a decade ago now. In addition to being Bruiser Brigade's resident studio wizard, J.U.S is a prolific rapper and producer in his own right. Appropriately, his GOKU Jay-Z album was the first to be released on the Bruiser label in 2021, kicking off this entire onslaught of excellent music. This one is a tinge more abstract than the previous 2 releases, with slightly more obscure sounding instrumentals and some more outlandish lyrics. In fact, the lyric I'm showing on the screen right now, which I would rather not repeat, is sort of a testament to the brand of humor you're going to find throughout all of these albums. In a recent interview, Brown said that the next album we should hear from the Bruisers is the next one from J.U.S, tentatively titled Go Fund Me a Corvette. And based on how much I enjoyed this one, I'm very much looking forward to hearing more from J.U.S on the mic rather than behind the boards. Bruiser Brigade's best kept secret is easily Bruiser Wolf. Whereas Ray, Quentin and J.U.S have all had their toes dipped in tradition, Bruiser Wolf is a true enigma. The closest artist to which I could compare Wolf might be E40, but these two rappers would never be mistaken for one another. Dare I say, Bruiser Wolf comes off like a much smoother, much more self-assured version of a young E40. He manages to fit a lot of words into his lines without sounding overzealous or overwrought, and that doesn't even properly explain the appeal of Bruiser Wolf, as his lyrical ability is his most colourful gift. Rather than go into greater detail, I'm just going to recite a few of my favourite lines from this album and let you go and uncover the rest of the gold that lay within. They put out an APB, they got a picture of me on the news on my state ID, but I was at the crib hitting for about half an hour. I gave her the Johnson 2 times like baby powder. Bottles of champagne, some shots, a few beers. I treat my dogs better than white people do theirs. What the... You mean? I'm hand to hand like 315. If you don't believe me, pick a different time like 210 or 105. Pianist, I touch the keys, lines of white guitar strings. This bass ain't percussion. This thing on my hip ain't a trumpet. School of the Hard Knocks, no elective. Buy bricks and dissect them. Sandra Bullock had some boy and some girl and a bird in a box. Coming in at number 2 is TV62, the label compilation album that the Bruisers released back in May. I tend not to enjoy albums like these, where each song is by one of a handful of artists, as these sorts of various artists' comps tend to lack cohesion. Not the case with TV62, which makes up in talent and versatility what it slightly lacks in front to back flow. It's a nice taste of all the artists mentioned in this list, in addition to a few new standalone cuts from Danny Brown, whose contributions to this album are definitely must listens for fans of his. Seriously, Welfare might just be the most demented sounding song Danny's ever recorded. Basically, once you've heard all the other albums on this list, I would say check out this one just to get a few more samplings of what all these great artists are capable of. If you've been paying attention, then you probably won't at all be surprised to learn that my favourite Bruiser affiliated release in 2021 was the latest album from ZELOOPERZ, Van Gogh's Left Ear. I have a pretty complicated history with ZELOOPERZ, having been familiar with him for several years as a long-time Danny Brown affiliate. I've enjoyed features but always struggled with full-length projects. I don't know if I've changed or if ZELOOPERZ has just gotten that much better, but Van Gogh's Left Ear is where things finally clicked for me. This album is 40 minutes of some of the most bonkers sounding trap music you'll likely ever hear. I feel like this album sounds like what Playboi Carti superfans think he sounds like. No disrespect to Carti, but Left Ear is constantly coming out of left field. ZELOOPER's elastic voice is in incredible form here, striking that perfect balance between one-of-a-kind personality and postmodern poet lyricist. Also, ZELOOPERZ is a great painter, and a lot of his works end up as album art within and outside the Bruiser Brigade, including the referential cover of this particular album. If there's anything I want you to take away from this rather brief video, it's that Danny Brown's Bruiser Brigade is quickly proving to be the most exciting new group in hip-hop. Watching their progress throughout 2021 and listening to the music they've been releasing has been a lot of fun. Check them out on Bandcamp if you want to keep up with their releases throughout 2022 and beyond. Thank you for watching and keep an eye out for the next video.